this thing weigh a lot or something?
This thing probably weighs what the Sequoia weighs. Like,
it's insane. The dense piece of metal right here. Wasn't too bad.
Hey.
Oh, there we go.
Look at that.
Let go, it rolls down the hill. That's the dyno right there.
This is a Peric dyno controller. This is the brain box. We also have what controls the brake. You have a toothed wheel.
Kind of like crank position sensor.
Kind of like a crank position sensor. You got a load cell, and then you got your crank position sensor, basically.
So what is this? Because most dynos you don't have to hot wire.
So this is an old Maha emissions dyno. Found this from the local emissions crackhead while I was doing emissions. And he had it sitting in the corner, and I asked him how much money he'd take for it, and he said, about $300. So I showed up that day with my trailer, and here it is.
Dyno for $300.
$300, asterisk, but $300.
Yeah, plus that. But I mean, what normal dyno costs? I mean, what 10, 20 grand?
40 grand, 50 grand for a nice one. Yeah, not bad.
And we have Miatas, so I mean, they're only gonna make 300 horsepower anyway, you know.
Asterisk.
And so now it was time to convert this emissions dyno into a real dyno. The first thing was to mount the trigger wheel and Hall effect sensor, which measures the dyno's speed, and then mount the load cell, which measures the force that the electromagnet is generating.
So we got the like the crank position sensor mounted, and we also have the string gauge mounted on the brake. Now the rest of the technical stuff, the wiring, the setting up, Yanni's gonna do later this week. For now, I need to get the dyno mechanically ready to run. So we have to mount the ramps, bolt to the floor, paint it, get an air hose hooked up to it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is mount the ramps. And for that, we're just gonna be using my trailer ramps. These are nice and long, aluminum ramps. I rarely use my trailer, and when I do, it won't be when I'm trying to use the dyno. So it's perfect, free ramps. Now the way these mount on the trailer has a little L bracket, as you can see, that slides in. So all we have to do is weld this, something like that. So the brackets are welded onto the dyno, and the ramps look great. Angle isn't too bad, and you have to keep in mind that, you know, the dyno is still 3 inches higher off the ground than it will be. So, you know, I think this should be fine. Worst case scenario, I'm willing to purchase a set of race ramps to make sure cars don't bottom out and stuff like that. But can you just imagine Molly right here, 600 horsepower, and then it's showing up on the screen right there. Anyway, now that that's done, I can go ahead and paint the dyno eggshell black. Nothing special, but just want to clean it up a little bit, make it all one color, get rid of the rust, that kind of thing. After the dyno was painted, the next step was to go ahead and get it off the dollies and anchored to the floor. So now the dyno is anchored onto the floor. The ramps are in place. It's looking pretty freaking sick. We'll put the bead on it later, but since the brake isn't functioning quite yet, if I drove the bead on, I wouldn't be able to get it back off. Also ditched the air hose reel and replaced it with just a hose leading to the dyno. Wasn't quite long enough, but it reached. Now, one of the last mechanical things we have to do is install some D-loops in the floor so we can strap down a vehicle. We have a lot more anchors, and some D-loops. Wow, that's a nice plate.
Calibrating the dyno. Don't look at
We're calibrating the dyno, guys.
calibrating the dyno. It's okay.
$300 dyno from a crackhead. Looks like a crackhead's calibrating it. So we weighed this cat, which is 11 pounds. We're gonna hang it off of that, which then puts a load on the load cell.
Yep.
And then use a fancy program to calibrate that. It's kind of fitting, we're using the Beats cat
Oh, is
to
this
calibrate.
the Beats cap?
Yeah, calibrate the dyno that the beat's gonna go on.
Wow.
Wow!
Great.
Look at that dyno run, that's a Yanni dyno pole.
And so now that the dyno was mechanically and electrically ready to go, it was time to put a car on it and do some testing.
You'd never think a car could be too small for a dyno.
Yeah.
I think it's too big, but it's almost too small. I think is what, yeah, the pinch welds definitely did hit. Oh yeah, I hit the dyno itself. So yeah, maybe not super low car friendly. Well, definitely the race ramps will help. So we'll get some race ramps to raise the front a bit. It's not bad, but and like the subframe very close, but it's on. We have a car on a dyno in the gymnasium. So now it's, well, I don't know, what is it? What are we doing right now?
We're just making sure everything's set up the right way. I'm trying to make sure that all of our relay outputs are outputting.
Yeah, because so that little computer controls relays on the dyno to actuate like the load bar.
And the brake.
And the brake, okay. It's been an interesting process. What would you rate this kit at this moment?
I don't think it's fair to rate the kit.
Okay, the instructions. Maybe, okay. Maybe the instructions aren't that great. Maybe we're just dumb.
That's a much higher possibility.
What should we put on the wall, guys? Because we have to make the background of the dyno area look cool. And we have to get rid of all my camping stuff up there, because that's kind of an eyesore.
Oh my god, where's the hole?
Oh!
Yes.
Hey, yo.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. You push a button on the keyboard in it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So that's how it hits this middle bar there, and then you can drive off. As the middle bar lifts, it also stops the rollers. Ooh, I like did that two-tone paint job. The gloss in the middle and the satin on the outside. That's nice. Weird seeing a car on a dyno in my shop. Finally, a dyno that has good lighting. I know. Every single dyno ever out there has terrible lighting because, I mean...
We're in a cave.
Yeah. A second gear pull. It seemed pretty good. It felt safe. We've never spun the dyno that fast. And according to the dyno, it made 45 horsepower. So it's kind of in the right ballpark. So yeah, it says 45 engine horsepower and 34 engine torque. So I mean, kind of in the right ballpark. The problem is that this is the dyno, the dyno graph. So that's not right. And this is the speed sensor for the dyno. Also not right. So it looks like there's some noise in it. But man, that was the first time I've ever been in a car on the dyno. It feels weird because feels like you're driving it, but you're not moving. But it felt really chill, like it wasn't shaky or anything. The $300 dyno is, I think, it's dynoing. We're gonna try another pull in third gear, so it's gonna be more wheel speed.
good news with that pull is that the dyno still felt chill with the higher wheel speed. The bad news is that the speed sensor is still picking up noise. So we took the cover off and had a look. That thing we put the crank gear on was not flat, so it's wobbling just ever so slightly, throwing off a signal. So we straightened the pulley. Hopefully that fixes the noise. It worked, kind of. Oh! That's looking like a dyno graph. Hey! Wow. That's beautiful. So the dyno is working pretty great. We've done lots of pulls, everything's been reliable, and it's been consistently reading 49 wheel horsepower, which is what the Beat made on another dyno. Now, there are some weird intricacies with the software in the fact that it doesn't measure wheel torque, it measures wheel horsepower, and then calculates with a drivetrain loss thing, engine torque. So it's a little funky and we're working out the details. But while Yanni does that, there are a couple more things we have to add to the dyno. Because right now, we're dying. By that I mean we're filling the shop with exhaust fumes, and although we have exhaust fans, they can't really keep up. Plus, it is really loud in here. So we're going to build an exhaust system for the dyno. Something that will allow fumes to exit the building, but also something that will be muffled and hopefully make it a little bit quieter in here. Because I do have neighbors. And although they signed up to be next to an automotive shop, you know, the quieter the better. How we're gonna do this, I'm not 100% sure, but I got a dryer duct, okay, let me explain. This thing is rated to 435 degrees, which means it will probably be fine for an exhaust during dyno pulls. And then we have actual stainless steel pipe. And essentially, I'm gonna make a clamp-on tip, which will connect to the flex pipe, so we can connect it to different cars easily. And then I'll build an actual full exhaust on the outside of the building, and this will lead to that. So I'm gonna have to have a 4-inch hole in my wall, right about yonder. Prototype 1, using what I had here at the shop plus the dryer, not perfect. This clearly is not long enough, so I can get a longer one of these. Obviously there's a huge gap there. Pretty much the end idea would be to have a different tip that fits on different size exhausts. So obviously I would have a tip that would fit on this 2-inch exhaust, but I don't have a reducer that goes from 4 inches to 2 inches, so I can't do that right now. The other problem is that on the other side of this wall, it's just pointing straight out. And so the breeze from outside is actually pushing air back through there. But we can fix that by just, having it turned down on the outside. All right, this is design 2. I welded a cap onto this pipe that fits over the Beat exhaust almost perfectly. So that's a good way we could,
just use a different cap size for each different exhaust. And then I got a longer hose, and on the outside, there's another hose pointing down. Oh yeah. That's really loud. Well, it's working. All right, well, definitely needs an exhaust on the outside, but really having fun rubbing that thing. It's very quiet in here and very loud outside.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. It sounds like the car's outside.
No way. That?
Huh?
That? Is that why?
Well no, it's being plumbed to the outside.
No shit.
Yeah.
Dude, then we gotta put a mic outside so we get a true audio sample.
Well I need to put a exhaust on the outside, like mufflers and stuff. But I don't have that right now, so. All right, you can shut it off though. It definitely is helping with the smell. It's not too bad. We didn't have the exhaust fan on, and the carbon monoxide detector is not going off. So, better than nothing. But we can get it better. So, I ordered some parts. We got a 4-inch muffler, some more piping, and I have got a couple of really good ideas for this exhaust. But the most important part is the muffler. So the exhaust is in. We're gonna hook this up, and the new tip is also made. For one, it is a 90-degree bend. Most cars we're gonna be dynoing are gonna have straight exhausts that are coming out. I also made a interchangeable tip setup. So pretty much this is a 4-inch pipe. I'll have different bolt-on reducers that will reduce the diameter of this pipe for different exhaust tips. So I made one for a 3-inch, and we're gonna test it in a second. But first, we're gonna make some race ramps, some rice ramps. All right, the rice ramps are done. Why don't we try a car with a little bit more horsepower? That's the lowest car I own, so the ramps worked. Just drove straight up, nice and smooth, and look at that clearance. Here's the adapter, and then I can still slide it on. It's like a perfect fit. Oh, it's so quiet. I mean, like a little leaks, but you hear that? Oh, dude, it's so quiet. Oh, that worked so good! Oh, and look, it's just chill coming out. Oh, that's so perfect. Yes! That worked so well. How was that? Was that fun?
That was fun, yeah.
All right, we're gonna strap this down and just out of curiosity, see how accurate this dyno is. So we know this made 350 wheel horsepower-ish. What will it make on ours? I'm just gonna do a 3rd gear pull because the wheel speed scares me, and the Yeti brake isn't wired up yet, so I'm pretty much using the car's brake to slow the dyno down. Is this sketchy? A little bit, but I just want to do it, you know? reason, my was only making 2 pounds of boost right there. Something's wrong with the car. But it made 140 wheel horsepower, so that's actually about right. Essentially a stock 1.6 that has high compression and a little bit of boost. Oh, that's what happened? Waste case. That's gonna be a problem. It just like, as soon as it made 190 horsepower, it started spinning the dyno. Okay, that's kind of cool. I just spun a dyno. But yeah, it just went to red line. And here, actually, I'll show you guys. The green one is NA, as you can see. 140 wheel horsepower all the way up to red line. Yeah, nice little NA curve. This is the one when it had boost. So you can see even at 3,000 RPM, it makes more horsepower with the turbo working, even though it's not like really making that much boost. But as soon as the boost started to kick in, right at like 42, it started making horsepower, and then right there is when it spun. And then obviously, as soon as it starts spinning, it's not really accelerating the dyno as much, and boom, it plateaus. And so that was 192 wheel horsepower at 4,000 RPM. Now, there are things we could do to make the spinning better. For one, if we were doing in 5th gear, which is the gear that is 1-to-1 in this car, it would be better. It wouldn't spin as much. Also, we could lower the tire pressure. Also, we could get some sticky compound. We're not gonna worry about any of that right now. What this did tell us is that it is reading pretty accurately, because that makes a bit of sense. Right as boost is starting to kick in, it's making about 200 wheel horsepower. Full boost is 350 wheel horsepower. Yeah, that seems about right. So we have a dyno that is reading accurately inside the Gingium. The exhaust still function, oh, okay. Yeah, my whole idea with that clamp idea is not gonna work. So we're gonna have to weld those on and make a bunch of different one of these. That's okay. This stuff gets a little crunchy, so we'll have to probably replace these every once in a while, but overall, successful. The last run.